Happy Saturday. Happy first day of college football for the 2024-2025 season. Frank Rock, House of Orange Sports Channel coming at you. I'm sure many of you have been plugged in this morning. It's the first game of the year, Florida State, Georgia Tech coming up here in a bit. College game day is going, and thought just made for a pretty interesting topic. And if I'm the Tennessee Volunteers, I'm Josh Heupel. If I'm this staff, this team, the game day panelists just gave me all the motivation I need for this upcoming season. Make sure you hit thumbs up, share, subscribe to the channel. If you have not, if you're new to the channel and you haven't checked it out at this point, make sure you share, subscribe for those notifications. We're 3 away from 1,800 on that way to 2,000. But the panelists just revealed their choices on here a minute ago. Desmond Howard, Kirk Herbstreit, Nick Saban, Pat McAfee. And Tennessee is not only not in any of their top 12 for the playoffs, they're not even in the first 1 or 2 out in any of their projections. And I go and I look through some of these, and I'm like, it must have been a good night out in Ireland last night. Desmond Howard's, he has Miami in the top 4. That one stood out to me. People are high on Ole Miss. Ole Miss still got to prove it. Ole Miss does have talent. They're all high on Clemson. Clemson, we're going to see next weekend when Clemson goes to Georgia. Georgia's going to mop the floor with Clemson. The downfall of Clemson is in progress. It's happening. It's gradually keeps happening a little bit at a time until Dabo gets with the times. That program's going to continue. It's going to continue that descend. It's going to continue that downfall. And that's a couple discrepancies I have on Howard's. They've got Penn State as a first team out. They're high on Penn State. I go to Nick Saban's. Saban has, his makes more sense. I mean, honestly, there's none of his top 12 that I think are crazy. I think he's LSU. I've got to see it for LSU. I'm not high on them. I think LSU is going to be a disappointing team this year. Missouri's one of his first team out, and Clemson's the second one. We're going to see Missouri. Again, they've had one good year. Clemson again, descend. That's where I'm at on Clemson. Kirk Herbstreit has Clemson in the top 4, which is ludicrous. Kirk Herbstreit has Missouri 7th. He has Ole Miss, and Oklahoma stays the first 2 out. That's at least 4 off the top of my head. I mean, now Florida State, they've got to prove it again. They're, DJ, he didn't do it at Clemson. Now he's coming back from Oregon State. Is he Florida State's answer this year after Jordan Travis is gone? I don't know. We'll wait and see. Michigan's still in there, Texas. They're all high on Notre Dame, Penn State, Oregon along the way. And some of those I don't have a problem with. And then I get to Pat McAfee. Now, Pat McAfee, I do like Pat McAfee. Pat was hanging out with Sheamus, WWE wrestler Sheamus, who's the guest picker. I think they were indulged in quite a few Guinnesses last night. Pat's got Virginia Tech and West Virginia in the top 4 on here. I mean, Ole Miss, I've got to see him prove it. He's got Oklahoma State, Penn State, first 2 out. Tennessee not even in the top 14 of any of these guys. So what that tells me is they're expecting Tennessee to go at least 9-3, or maybe at best 9-3, if not worse on that. To me, when Tennessee flourishes is when they're underestimated. Analysts are underestimating Tennessee. ESPN, actually, their FPI, they have Tennessee in the top 10, but Tennessee, at least from the game day panelists, they're not getting the love. They're not getting the respect. They've talked. I think there's, based on what Herbstreit said, the quarterback position is going to be interesting. So a lot of this is going to go on Nico this year. If Nico performs, this team rolls. Something I thought was interesting is Saban was talking about Ole Miss, and he talks about, where they've had trouble beating Alabama and Georgia, teams like that in the past, the line of scrimmage, said they're there now. Okay? If we compare with Tennessee, if you look at a healthy offensive line, that's a good offensive line Tennessee has. Now, if you get into injuries, it changes the game, as it will with a lot of teams. But Tennessee's defensive line, it's one of, if not the best in the country. And I would go on record as saying it is definitely the deepest in the country. James Pierce Jr., of course, is the star of that defensive line. But I mean, there's still a lot of quality depth, quality talent. Who takes that next step this year? Tennessee teams in the past, as we know, when they've been top 5 to start the season or something, they've underperformed. This is around that ranking, 15th. Both major polls have them 15th in the country going into the season. You look at baseball this past year, they were in that close to 10, give or take, range. Look what they did with that. A couple years ago, baseball 2022, they were a bit lower than that, down closer to 20. They were the best team. They just didn't finish the job. 2022 Tennessee Vols, they did football, weren't getting the credit at that point. Where did they end up? They went all the way to number 1 in the rankings. Of course, Georgia took care of that, and Tennessee finished the season. Should have been 5th. I think it was actually 6th. It was an absolute travesty. They were 1 below Bama, but it is what it is. In the grand scheme of things, it was irrelevant because they lost at South Carolina. But if I'm Josh Heupel, if I'm this staff, all college football is watching game day, and you just saw that the most watched show basically just disrespected you. Take it for what you want. You should always be motivated to play, but you should also, I have no problem with it. Take 4 pictures, put it up on the wall, prove them wrong along the way. Tennessee football has a lot of talent this year. Tennessee football is being underestimated. If you read the interviews, whether it's Falquist, whether it's 24/7, Rocky Top Insider, whomever that's doing them, this staff, all these coaches, they like what they have. Now, I don't think it's a level where they're ever comfortable with it. I don't think it's like some of the days with Fulmer where I felt like they thought they could just show up and win. This staff, they're still going to have to show up and prove it. But to me, if I'm a player and I just saw that, I saw some of these teams up here. I know 2 years ago that we annihilated Clemson in the bowl game. And yeah, they did. They did. That game was not close. If Hendon Hooker would have played in that game, Tennessee would have put 60 on Clemson. Since then, Clemson's done nothing to get better than Tennessee. They were not better last year. Tennessee last year beats Clemson last year as well. Tennessee this year would wipe the floor with Clemson, unless Clemson proves me wrong. And, it's just Virginia Tech, Miami, give me a break, man. Give me an absolute break. 1 week from now, 1 week and 1 hour from now, the season starts. And then, should be a game Tennessee controls next week, and then it gets real the week after that with NC State as well. Again, I say this, and I'm kind of getting repetitious here, and I'm going to wrap this thing up in a minute. If I'm a player in that Tennessee locker room, if I'm a coach, if I'm part of that staff, if I'm in the AD, if I'm whomever, just got as if I needed more motivation, because people are still on all these other SEC wagons, but they're not on Tennessee's. They're on the Missouri, the Ole Miss, of course, Georgia. I have no problem with them being on Georgia. Alabama, we're going to see. I think Alabama's prove it with the new coach. Ole Miss, I could see it for Ole Miss. They're going to have a lot of talent. Missouri's still got to prove it to me. Maybe Missouri is here to stay for a bit, but they've had one good season in recent memory on it. Tennessee just got the motivation they need. We'll wrap up on that one. I'm still in the midst of putting together the rebirth of the Vols. It's going to come sometime soon. Let's just say coming soon on that one, because there are things that's taken precedent today, maybe this evening. I don't know. We'll just say coming soon. I'm excited about that one. I'll have fun with it. Plenty of content coming this week. 7:30 Monday night. We're going back to 7:30. Kerry Williams, myself, we'll be live. We'll talk. I'm pretty sure the depth chart releases on Monday. We'll see how close we were with our depth chart last week. We'll talk the game coming up this week. We'll talk Tony Vitello's extension. There was a lot of news yesterday, and I did record a video on that. I hope you'll check that out if you have not already. On the road to 1,800. If you've not subscribed already, we're 3 away. We're 3 away from 1,800 on that road to 2,000. Hopefully we can hit that here before too long. I hope you have a great rest of your Saturday. This is Frank Rock, This is the House of Orange Sports Channel. I'll see you Monday night, and have a great Saturday.